awesome. Thanks for having me. All right. I was like totally chill until like 2 seconds, and my heart's like going really fast because I love talking about this stuff and I do feel like it comes natural to me. And it's funny because I'm in that 5 to 8 star chat thread. And I think it was maybe Thursday of last week, everyone was like, what are you guys doing to recruit right now? And I was like, I hope that this will be a lot of value to you guys. And some of it might seem really simple. And if it does, if you are already doing this, then I really encourage you to ask yourself if you are sharing this with your downline. So I've been coaching 8 years, like Wendy said. And when I first started coaching, the term discount coach wasn't a thing. It was you either are recruiting to a challenge group or to work the business. And I knew that I wanted to work the business and grow a team. The goal was not to coach full time for me. I was working full time, loved my full time job, truly thought I was just going to keep climbing the corporate ladder, but I was very incentivized to hit emerald, right? And then to hit diamond, and tank tops were thrown at me and cash to like hit a certain diamond by a certain rank and whatnot. So I'm just like very competitive with myself. So I went for it. And if I wanted to hit emerald, I needed working coaches. If I wanted to hit diamond, I needed working coaches who had working coaches. And so that's kind of always been my mindset. I have signed up discount coaches in the past, but I attribute my financial success to growing a solid team so that when people come and go from the company, and there's always years, right, where like a new company comes out and coaches leave to, the grass is greener on the other side, my income has always stayed the same. And I do think that it's because I've just kind of ingrained this talk about coaching through my whole downline. So hopefully this will be a good refresher for you guys and something you can take to your team. So I'm going to talk about why to talk about coaching specifically, not just challenge groups, who to invite, what to say, and then how to help your downlines invite. So why to talk about coaching directly? I'm just curious, by a show of hands, and then maybe if you're not on the screen, you can type in the chat. How many of you guys started out as a coach right away? And then how many of you guys started off as a challenger? So coaches, raise your hand. Okay, nice. Challengers, raise your hand. Okay, the more coaches on screen. Let's see. Client, challenger, coach. Coach, but had been doing the workouts before. Good mix. Okay, chat, there's more challengers. So I ask this because talking about coaching in our stories, I have found is the most inspiring to my current challengers. Yes, I do get people that are interested, like story watchers, and every now and then there's someone who actually means to click on my poll, right? But most of the time when I'm talking about coaching, it's my existing people that already know me, love me, trust me, are in my group. So that's a big reason why I talk about coaching in my stories and posts and whatnot, so that my existing people can see that. And it's like planting the seed without having to always, DM them and remind them about coaching. Also, I love leading with a coaching opportunity because you can always fall back on a challenge group. For example, last week, I invited somebody who had liked one of my coaching posts, and I reached out, I sent a voice message for an invite to coaching, and she said, girl, I can't coach. I need help myself. And I was like, oh, well, what do you need help with? And she said, my nutrition. And I was like, well, I can help you with that too. And so we transitioned into a challenge group invite and nutrition and talking about 2B mindset and whatnot. So if you start with a challenge group invite and they say no, you can't, it's harder to be like, okay, well then do you want to coach? I do that. If we get all the way through the end of the conversation and then money is an objection, I'm like, well, girl, let's get you coaching. And we kind of go from there, but it's just easier to start out for me with the coach invite. And I also love talking about coaching because it just paints your story and your picture for your followers, no matter which way you signed up. For those of you that signed up as a coach right out of the get-go or as a challenger, coaching for me has helped me stay way more accountable than if I was just a challenger. That's one reason why I signed up as a coach, was to hold myself more accountable. And I just want to pay it forward because challenge groups are cool. And like my client community is decent, but my coaching community is like where it's at. Right. And so that's what I want to bring people into. That is the energy that I want people to experience. So that's why I love talking about coaching, probably more so than challenge groups, in my stories, posts, in my challenge groups, and all of that. So who to invite? You can probably guess, first and foremost, existing clients. Again, you guys probably do this, but I am shocked at the number of my downline coaches that truly just have never thought to even invite them. They're like, oh, well, what do you say? So we'll get into that next. But your existing clients, existing preferred customers, existing coaches, even that may have fallen off, work with who you have. Start there first, and then we'll reach out to other people like story watchers. That's my second go-to after I reach out to existing people, likers, commenters. You guys know the drill. All of our lists, right, of people that are engaging with us. And then also, if you do have a list of like dream coaches, there's a few girls that I have that keep telling me no, and I keep inviting them because I'm like, you're going to be amazing at this. In fact, I feel like this might be potentially illogical to think this way. But last week I was talking to a girl about, I think we started like 3 weeks ago talking about coaching, and I sent her a webinar. And after that, she just kind of was like, yeah, now's not a good time. And I was like, I tried to overcome that, wasn't working. Last week, she reached out to me and was like, okay, so tell me more about coaching. We got all the way through to the end, sent her the share cart. I was like, let me know when you get signed up and we can add you into our team page, and I'll tell you all about our training. And she responds saying, I changed my mind. Sorry to waste your time. And I'm like getting all the way to the end. But even with that, deep down, I'm like, I just see her signing up one day, coming to Summit. She's going to be the one interviewed on stage, and she's going to share the story about how she told her coach no 3 to 5 times before she actually signed up, right? And that's just my mindset. It's like, if they say no, that sucks, but I'm going to reach out to more people anyways. If they say yes, that's great, but I'm going to reach out to more people anyways. And so I think having that mindset helps me, and leading with that mindset. We had a guest speaker on our team call once, and she said that you can do everything that I'm about to share with you guys and what you're going to share with your teams. But if you and or your coaches aren't in the right headspace, no matter how many invites you send, it's not going to work. No matter how many webinars you send, it's not going to work. So be in that positive headspace of, you're so excited to get people to your team. If they say no, we'll join down the road. If they say yes, we'll move on with the conversation. Either way, it's a great situation to be in. So getting that, your mindset prep for that. Let's see, who else to invite? Yeah, pretty much everyone. Okay, so what to say? This has worked for me since I think I came up with it when I became a 2-star diamond coach. And it was just something that was natural to me. And then I realized it became a thing. It's like my flow every time I send an invite. So I don't have like an exact script for you guys, which I think is good because it's better if it comes in your voice. But the strategy will help you. So compliments, confidence, invite. I'll say it again. Compliment, confidence, invite. So what that looks like, and I will say 99% of the time, it's via voice message. So that's another reason I don't really have a script for you guys. But compliments. So I start off being like, hey, Julie, I see you showing up in your stories every day and sharing your healthy lifestyle. It's honestly so inspiring. I can't believe you're able to do that with 3 kids, right? Like pump them up. Then confidence. You would be a natural at what I do as a coach, or you would just be so perfect at coaching. It's usually one-liner, and then end with the invite. Have you ever thought about doing what I do? Have you ever considered coaching? Last week, so I had a Coach Basics start yesterday. So last week, my invites were, I have a Coach Basics training starting on Monday. So I'd love to get you in there if you've ever thought about becoming a coach with me. So if you have something that you can invite to, like a Coach Basics or a sneak peek or something, you can mention that. If not, if you don't do anything like that, you can still invite to coaching. Still say, just have you thought about that? So I'll share another example. So maybe this person doesn't share anything health and fitness on her story, but she's just showing up. So, hey, Cassidy, I see you showing up. and just sharing your healthy or sharing your lifestyle on social media. As you can see, that's partially what I do. You would be such a great coach. I just get the vibe and feeling that you would be wonderful on my team. Have you ever thought about that? If you feel like it's awkward inviting somebody, I always do two things. One, I call myself out and I'm like, this is coming out of left field. I know we've never talked about it, but you are so great at sharing your workouts every day and you'd be a great coach and blah, blah, blah. And then, so say like, oh, another one I love is, I've been meaning to ask you this forever, but I've been too nervous and almost want to pee my pants every time I think about it, but I'm just going to put my big girl pants on and ask you anyways. And then I go into it, right? So like I address the fact that I truly might be nervous, or it's just like, I don't know what this person is going to say. And then the second thing along with that is at the end, give them an out. So I say, this is better for a challenge group, but even for coaching, have you ever thought about coaching? And if it might fit into your lifestyle, or are you all set? Or is now not a good time? I keep it very basic. I don't want to say, or are you too busy right now? Because everyone thinks they're too busy, right? So be cautious of that. Don't give them their excuse for coaching. Just give them an out. And I find most times, especially if I pair that together with I was super nervous, but I'm putting my big girl pants on anyways, and then ending with, or are you all set for right now? I almost always get a response at the very least. And they're like, oh my gosh, you're too sweet. Yeah, now's not a great time, but thanks for the invite. And then we can keep the conversation going. So that's what to say. Compliments, confidence, invite works best in a voice message. You can also do it in a text message, but make it personal. That's when you're going to get at least a response from people. Okay, so how to help your coaches invite. First, I find it helpful to give them something to invite to. So like I said, I'm hosting a Coach Basics that started yesterday. So the prior 2 weeks, I was inviting and I was telling my team to invite and giving them examples of what to say to existing clients. That does look a little bit different. Existing clients, especially preferred customers, they're already in the door, right? They already hopefully are participating in your challenge group. So for them, I would say something like, hey, Sarah, you're doing amazing. Oh, Siri just picked. You're doing amazing in our challenge group. I love seeing your posts every day and you're holding everybody so much more accountable. You have to coach with me. What's holding you back, right? Like even take out the whole compliments, confidence, invite, just be like, I've said before, Michelle, why are you not coaching on my team? You're amazing. You're literally doing what I do, right? I feel like those bold ones, they're like, oh, why aren't I? Like, maybe I should consider this. So don't be afraid to do that too. So how to help your coaches invite, give them something to invite to. Coach Basics, sneak peek, or you've heard me mention a couple of times, I do a webinar just because it's a huge time savings on everybody's end. And it just has been working really well for me. Secondly, encourage your coaches to do this both in a group setting. So if you have like a team page and or a chat thread, something that I like to do is first get them to opt into a challenge. So I would say, hey guys, who here is up for a 15-minute challenge that will help grow your team? Post a GIF if you're into that. And everyone posts GIFs. And so, as long as I have one person that does that, I'll go on with it. If no one does, I'll be like, okay, never mind. I don't have to do it. But I find that when they opt into a challenge, they are way more likely to participate rather than me going in saying, hey guys, I came up with a fun 15-minute challenge that'll grow your team. Here's what we're going to do. So get them to opt in first. So that works in a group setting, but most effectively, I found it's one-on-one. So if you have someone that really wants to grow a team or earn an income or really whatever, I reach out to them and I say, hey, let's send some coach invites and don't make it a big deal. Let's send some coach invites today, right? It's going to be super fun. And I challenge them, same thing I taught you guys, compliments, confidence, invites. And I encourage them to reach out to family and friends initially and one-on-one. it just works better. They're more likely to do it than flying under the radar in a group setting, I have found. So last but not least, once we get people to invite, right? I feel like that's the challenge. Is like our coaches aren't inviting. So once we get them to do that, I'm going to share with you guys my process of what's next. Like, okay, they say yes, now what? So let me share my screen. Okay, can you guys see this coach recruiting process document? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, let me zoom in a little bit. I don't even know how to do that. View full screen. That's not even that much bigger. Okay, anyways, coach recruiting process. So invite to coaching. And I have a little link here that brings them to just an invite script document. Truthfully, it's a little bit old. Everything I do now is exactly what I just taught you. But I find for newer coaches, they like to have a typed out something. So I give an example here. If they say no, no biggie. And then, how was your weekend? No biggie. How are you feeling? Are you over COVID? Like just continue the conversation. If they say yes, go on to step 2. So this is where I introduce the webinar. So I say, great, I have a quick 11-minute video that explains all of the details. Are you able to watch it by the end of the night tonight? Or if you're inviting at night, are you able to watch it anytime tomorrow? And they usually say yes. If they say, actually, I've never had anybody say no, actually. So they usually say yes. And then I say, wonderful, take some notes because you'll have some questions. Then we'll set up a quick 15 to 20-minute call to go over those questions. And I'll have my upline join. And then your coach is going to pump you up. It sounds weird, but they're going to say, she's been in the company for X amount of years. She's at the top, super successful. Most importantly, she has the biggest heart. Are you free for a call tomorrow at blank or blank? And give them 2 options. If you leave it open, like, are you free for a call tomorrow? This does not work. You have to choose 2 times that are free for you. So say, are you free tomorrow at, 12 or 3? And if they're like, no, I work full time until 5, and maybe they just end it at that, then you can always be like, oh, cool. Well, I'm also free at 6:30 or 8. Like you can always go back. So you want to have those 2 times. Make sure it's within 24 hours of them watching the video. That's also important because you want to capitalize on the excitement. If they watch a video and they're like, oh, this does sound cool, but then 2 days go by, 3 days go by, and they just get busy, they lose excitement. So you want to do it ASAP. One of my coaches that's actually doing this watches the video with them. So she says, great, I have a quick 11-minute video that explains it all. Are you free to watch it? And we can hop on a Zoom today at noon, something like that. So that's an option for you guys too. When they say, yep, I'm free at 4, I say, great, here's the video. I'll create a message thread with you and my upline to confirm everything. And then we do have a Facebook group we created it a year and a half ago. And it's a live your best life. It's like an old version of a sneak peek, but there's some okay content in there. So we just add them in there as a placeholder. Okay. So then again, this is for our downline coaches. They are going to create the message thread with their prospect and us. And I encourage them to do it wherever they're chatting. So sometimes it's via Facebook, sometimes it's text message, sometimes it's Instagram. And I won't read this, but you guys can see I have my coach introduce their prospect to me and me to their prospect. I have my coach answer these questions. The ones that I specifically look at are what are their possible hesitations and fears, because I address that on the call, and what's in it for them. So these middle 2. I had a call last week with one of my coaches and her prospect, what's in it for them? Really, they just wanted to be held accountable. They wanted to reach their own goals and to be held accountable. So I heavily talked about that on the call. I've also had somebody join a call where what's in it for them was the trips. And since I've been a coach for 8 years, I've been on all of the trips except for one, which was, I think, in my first year of coaching. So I talked about the trip. So it just gives us leverage as the upline to steer the conversation in a way that they can relate and they feel like they're heard and they're like, oh my gosh, she's speaking directly to me. How does she know this? So that's what I'm using. Same thing with what are the possible objections? A lot of the time, I would say 90% of the time, it's time. They feel like they don't have the time to squeeze it in. So I not only share my story of when I started, which I was working full time, but I share that like 90% of the coaches on my team still work full time. And I even say like our Coach Basics is meant for the busy mom. It's meant for the busy person. So if you're busy, this is perfect for you. And then just remind the prospect about the call the next day, following up. So if they said that they were interested, here are some follow-up options for them. If you're ghosted, you can say something like that. I want to mention too, I get ghosted. So I'm going to stop sharing for a second. This flow works like a freaking charm for my downline. Like when they do this, I'm on calls a lot of the time when they are able to send the webinar and whatnot. Recently, I've had and by recently, I mean like in the past few months, because I don't invite to coaching too frequently, but I've had 9 calls and I think 5 have signed up on the call. 1 signed up afterwards, and then the other ones just didn't sign up. For me, it doesn't work so well. I'm still trying to figure out how, because I feel like I'm better with words. I can just have the conversation myself. You guys might feel that way too. But when I get ghosted, it's at the part where I talk about the webinar. So it's at this part right here where I say, great, I have a quick video that explains it. Are you able to watch it? They just don't answer me. And so my follow-up to that is I usually wait like a day and I'm like, oops, I forgot to send the webinar. So sorry about that. Let me get that for you. Take some notes. And then I kind of jump in, take some notes. You'll have some questions. And then afterwards, we can set up a quick 15 to 20 minute call, or I can just leave you some voice messages. Because truthfully, I am not the person that will hop on a call. If someone's like, hey, I want to hop on a call real quick, and I don't know them, and I'm not super sure about the opportunity, it's too much commitment for me. And I'm an introvert. Like, I wouldn't do that. So the second I sense some hesitation, I'm like, oops, forgot to send the webinar. Here you go. Like, I'd rather just have them have it and watch it, hopefully, and then continue on, if that makes sense. So that's what I personally do. Now, after you go through all of that, they watch the webinar, you hop on the call. Let me see if I have anything left on that document. Email Sam. Yeah, just some new coach stuff. But the call, so this is important for you guys. So when your coaches get on that call, it's really simple. I ask 3 things. Number 1, what was your favorite part about what you saw? Or what excites you the most? And sometimes they're like, all of it. And I'm like, okay. And I try and highlight things. What about if you had to pick the free trips, the income opportunity, or just being part of our community? Which would you say excites you the most? Try and get them excited. Then I ask if they have any questions or hesitations or fears and whatnot. And if they do, I just go into a story. Usually it's my story because they've already heard my coach's story about how they've signed up. If I can't relate to it, then I share another coach's story. Like one of my coaches is a stay-at-home mom, which I'm now realizing is a full-time job, but she's a full-time mom to 4. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So when I have a mom of multiples join, I relate to her. So I ask about that and I just share a story. And then the last question, which I love, is on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at? 1, you think we're crazy and hyped up on our pre-workout all the time. You would never, ever join. You think we're nuts. 10 being you're ready to sign up right this second. Where do you fall on that? Most of the time, you guys, people say 7 or 8. And if they definitely say 8, 9, or 10, sometimes even 7, I'm like, you're basically a coach on my team. Like what the heck? Why won't you sign up right now? Like, this is for you. You are ready. What's holding you back? And they are usually like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, well, let's do this. Our Coach Basic starts on Monday. That's where it's great to have like some urgency, where if you have something starting, So our Coach Basics started Monday, or even our Coach Basics starts next week. So this is the perfect time to get you in. And then we go into how to get signed up. And that's where it varies, you guys. If it's an existing client or coach, literally they just have to start sharing, right? Or sorry, not a client. If they're a preferred customer, now they have to upgrade to a coach. If they're already a coach, they just have to start sharing. If they're completely brand new, that's when I'll be like, okay, well, let's get you signed up. Let's talk about the different starter options for you. Now, if they say 4, 5, 6, sometimes 7, that 7, I'm just kind of gauging them, and reading their energy. 4, 5, or 6, I say, okay, clearly seems like you have some questions or some hesitations. If there was one thing to hold you back, what would that be? So just trying to get a little bit more out of them. And if they say 0 to, what would that be? 3 to sometimes 4, then I say, okay, well, clearly coaching just is not a good fit for you right now. No pressure, but let's get you at least in our challenge group. Let's get you feeling better. Let's get you to at least experience some of the community. What do you think about that? And again, that's obviously where we lead into the challenge group invite. So yeah, that whole coach recruiting process works so great for my downline. I encourage you guys to do something similar for your teams. Again, for me, I'm still trying to perfect how it works. For me, I think I'm just good at convincing people, which is a blessing and a curse at the same time. But yeah, I try and follow that myself as much as I can. I think that's it. If you guys haven't, and I do have a challenge for you guys. I thought it would be fun to talk about what you guys have going on. Like if you guys do a Coach Basics or Coach Sneak Peeks, so that you guys do for your team. And then also encourage you guys to come up with a challenge for your coaches to invite. Kind of like I said, I'll do like post a GIF if you're ready to do a challenge. And that 15-minute challenge that I mentioned, for me, it's take 15 minutes and invite 2 people. Nothing crazy. So that I'm trying to show them, like, you don't need a ton of time in order to invite to the business. I've also done rewards though. So I say, take all day, whenever you can. And for every 2 coaches that you invite, post a GIF. And I'm going to enter you all into a $5 Starbucks gift card, and I'll choose 2 people. So something, or if you already have like a water bottle on hand or something like that, I'll give away prizes just to encourage them to actually do it. So that's what I've got for you guys.
Samantha, so good. So good. And I know you all are doing something very similar. Was this helpful? Kind of going through the process? Was that helpful for some of you? One of the things that you brought up is that 3-way call. That's what we called it, Rodan Fields. We called it a 3-way call. And really the intent of that call is that third-party validation, right? Like that's really the intent behind that 3-way call. And not only that, Samantha, you're seeing success with that. Like you've seen the conversion ratio from you sharing the coaching opportunity to actually converting into them signing up and enrolling as a coach. So thank you for sharing. I know there's some questions in here, Samantha, in the chat. The first one was, how are you running your Coach Basics? And we'll post it in Sam, if we can post this in the 5 to 8 star thread, that would be awesome. And then we'll make sure to add that into the Google Doc that Ashley created for us.
Right. Yeah. So full disclosure, I'm doing a Coach Basics, like I've shared, that started yesterday. I have not done a Coach Basics in a very long time, like over a year. So it's just something that I wanted to be able to invite to something. So I'll share with you guys how it goes. The goal of the Coach Basics, it's 3 weeks. The goal is to hit Emerald and Success Club. And we're just sharing basics of like business activity tracker style. One thing that I do like is there's a pinned post at the top that says questions and bat. And for everyone that's in the training, I had in the comments of that post, I put their name. And then I actually may have gotten this idea from one of you guys, but I put their name. And then I told them every time they fill out their tracker, take a picture of it or a screenshot if they're on their computer or phone and reply to your name with that. So that way we can see them specifically, how frequently are they actually filling out their business activity tracker? I think it's great for accountability, because we all know the first week is amazing and then people slowly start to drop off. And so again, if you have anyone competitive like myself in there, I'm going to be the one with the most trackers that's shown, right? Even if it's not like an official challenge, I want that title for myself. So I thought that would be fun. But yeah, it's pretty basic. We teach like how to invite. Also, I want to say, so far, none of the videos that are in there are me. I love using third-party resources because I don't want my coaches to get to Diamond or Star Diamond and think, oh crap, now I've got to create all of these videos. So almost all of the training that I do is other people. Before I did the Coach Basics, like last year and even most of the year before, my training is just guides in our group. What I did was I went to the Beachbody Champions guides, and they have like a new coach training section. And I just took my favorite videos and I put them in mine. And so if I was inviting to something, I would still say like I didn't call it Coach Basics, but I said we have another round of our self-paced training starting on Monday. So it's perfect timing. All I meant by that is they can start on Monday, right? And hopefully there will be other girls that go through it with them, but it's no formal group. It's nothing other than going through those guides. And that works really well for me. That probably wasn't helpful, but just the basics that I like to teach them.
Okay. There was another question around content in your video. I know you mentioned that 11-minute video. Can you share and just elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yes. Let me see if I'll share it with you guys. It's not mine. I don't even know who did it. I think it might be Brooke Lipoff. Sounds like her voice behind it. It was one that was going around and I watched it. And it's one that I can most resonate with. So I'll send it to you guys, but I would encourage you guys to pick a video that you resonate with. This one is very girly. There's pink and it's just like my vibe. So pick a video. There's so many out there on Vimeo or even our online office. There's one with Carl. I have a couple coaches that send that one, especially to male prospects. So pick one that resonates with you. But the content, I love it because it's 11 minutes and it goes over everything. It talks about prioritizing yourself, how we earn an income, different sign-up options. And it even mentions the monthly fee is $16. So they know going into the call with me that there is a fee to get signed up and the recurring fee of $16.
Perfect. Any other questions for Samantha before we kind of hear from all of you what you're doing? Oh, where's the video? Oh, she's going to post it, I think. Chris.
Yes.
She'll post it so that you have that. Okay. No other questions for Samantha? Samantha, thank you.
Yeah, I hope you guys found this helpful. It's really fun. Like once you get into the groove of talking about coaching and inviting to it, I was on Zoom with my success partner last week. And I was sending coach invites via voice message. And I caught myself, I was like looking at myself and I just had the biggest smile on my face because I get excited talking about coaching. And that comes through in a voice message too. So I would just say have fun with it and bring that excitement to your team because that's where the growth really happens is when we can get coaches to do this too.
So good. So good. Okay. So how many of you are struggling sharing or inviting to the coaching opportunity? Come on. Let's get real for a minute. Just one of you. Okay. 2. Okay. 3. So I love it. Just give yourself I'll give you 15 seconds of just of uninterrupted time. And now you're like, okay, it might be an opportunity for me. Where do you struggle the most? And feel free, unmute yourself. This is let's get real here for a moment, but where do you struggle the most in terms of sharing or inviting to the coaching opportunity?
I would say for me right now, personally, just being vulnerable because I haven't really built much over the last probably this is sad to say 6 years because I had a baby and life kind of threw, curves at me. And I really haven't worked a solid, business. I really didn't have business hours for the last 6 years. Let's put it that way. So my business kind of just has been stagnant, or I've gotten comfortable, I guess, with my business. So I personally haven't been vulnerable in that state to invite to the business. So any of my coaches that have come on over the last 6 years have either been challengers or people that have been watching me prior to, having my third. So I think I'm just struggling more so. I don't know if it's struggling to invite to the business because this business has given me life. I bleed Beachbody Blue, or if it's the fact that I have struggled with my fitness journey for the last 6 years, that is where I'm struggling to say, okay, well, we can help people together on our fitness journey. So for me, I think it's going back to the basics of when I joined. And that's kind of my goal for 2022. So that's why I'm a new face to these masterminds, because I've, over the last year, Wendy has been, inviting me, and I've been like, oh no, because I have nothing to give, so I feel like I'm that reservoir. I'm taking, and I have nothing to give. So I'm laying that down in 2022, and I'm just being a part of. So thank you for this week and last week, because I've gotten so much from it.
Awesome. Thank you. Who can kind of, give her some advice, give Nikki some advice on what she just shared? Because I know, Ashley, you said, hey, I'm not personally struggling with the whole inviting to coaching. I need help with systems and onboarding, et cetera. Who can share maybe what's working for you as it relates to sharing the coaching or inviting the coaching opportunity?
I'm happy to share what I do that I feel like works really well. So, and I teach my team to always focus on recruiting for their virtual gym, challenge group, boot camp, whatever, the first half of the month, hit Success Club by the 15th, and then turn and focus all of the rest of your energy for that month on recruiting to coaching. So they get in this rhythm where they recruit a couple challengers, and they recruit a coach or two, and then recruit a couple challengers and recruit a coach or two. I'm not saying this works 100% of the time, but I feel like it's a very simple method that they can follow all of the time. That being said, I recruit like crazy out of my virtual gym, and I simply start from the very first week that somebody gets 3, 4, 5 workouts in. I'm cheering them on. Like, we stay closely connected to those people that come in and they're first doing a meal plan, they're first doing their workouts, navigating BOD, all of that stuff. By their 3rd or 4th workout, I'm literally voice memoing them, being like, you're freaking amazing. Like, I can't believe you've already lost 3 pounds, girl. I can't wait for you to coach with me one day. I start planting the seeds their first week that I cannot wait for them to be a coach, or that they are going to be such a good coach. Or if I notice that somebody is answering a question or two in the BOD group, I'll literally voice memo them and be like, thank you so much for answering that question, because it has been a crazy day. And let me tell you what, you would literally be such a good coach. Like, and I say exactly what Samantha does. You're doing everything that I do already, but I start planting seeds really early. So when they've gone through their first 4 weeks, 6 weeks, and they're still feeling the fire and they're really excited, when I come in, right, it's like a jab, jab, cross, right? Or like my jab, 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 jab is that, like, you're going to be a good coach. You're going to be amazing. I can't wait for you to be on my team, girl. I can't wait for you to go on this trip with me next year. And then I'm like, hook. You want to come coach? Like, do you actually want to come do this? And I found that by really doing that process consistently through December and January, I just recruited 4 new working coaches, and 2 of them have already helped their first person. I'm not saying that this is like leading to immense success, but like, I find that people that come out of the virtual gym with a couple of weeks under their belt that feel really fired up, like, that's when I was the most excited. So I just plant seeds from the beginning, and it is authentic, because you're not saying, would you like to come join my coach webinar? Or, hey, could you hop on a call with me? Or like, all of those things do happen. They have to happen in the process, but not yet. They can start by you saying, dude, you be the best coach ever. Or like, girl, your energy is amazing. I can't wait for you to be on my team someday. And I think that feels really authentic and natural. And it's like the pre-invite,
So good, Ashley. Who else is doing something that's working for them right now as it relates to sharing or inviting to the coaching opportunity? So Ashley, I mean, yours clearly virtual gym, right? Like, you know, Samantha, 3-way call. And that's the beauty of this business. We all kind of do it differently. Who else is doing something that's working?
I can just share quick that I needed to hear this. Morgan and I have, we're paired up, have just committed to running a weekly coach like webinar call, do the same thing, but I'm like, just weekly. Cause that we all know how to invite. We all know how to recruit. I feel like it's not about the words. It's like literally holding yourself accountable. Cause I feel like last year I went in waves, right? I'm in like recruitment mode. And then it was like, nah, I don't want to recruit. Like, so we paired up and we're like, every week it's going to, and Janine's Best of the Best Friday was great. So either it's going to be a webinar, a coffee chat, or like a Facebook sneak peek, but it holds us accountable for inviting every week. Like, if it's not like, oh, I don't have a sneak peek coming up until the end of the month or until 2 weeks from now. It's like, nope, every week. And then it holds me accountable to talking more about it. We also laid out on our like daily activity, our own personal daily activity tracker, like what we're sharing in stories every day. So we're sure not to forget. Like Monday, we're sharing a piece of our vision, right? And who we're looking for. Tuesday, it's a piece of our transformation that has to do with like this business and being part of it. Not just like, here was my results from a program, but then talk about what, this has done really for our lives. Wednesday, sneak peeking in the challenge group. Thursday, like paycheck wins and gratitude for the business. And like, I'll, do a paycheck win post in my team page so I can then share that. And then also email that out to my coaches on Fridays so that like maybe the inactive people will get more excited again. So we just kind of laid out like really systems, right? Like, and just because we all know what to do, I think we just forget to do it, or we aren't doing it consistently enough. And we know that people need to hear things so many times to be like, oh, she has something to offer. Like I once heard that when you finally get sick of yourself talking about something is when the person on the other side of the screen is gonna be like, oh, like I could be a coach like her. And I always have to remember that. So I think we kind of can forget or get in waves of talking more about challenge groups or more about one thing. So we just kind of lay that out to hold ourselves accountable and give structure to it. And it already makes me feel more comfortable. Like I've invited so much to coaching, we've got a lot of people coming to our webinar tomorrow, and it's just because we just decided to like do it, So, that's not like I guess tip, but it's helping.
No, absolutely. So you're giving them something to invite. You're inviting them to something.
Yeah.
Regardless, every single week.
And I also posed instead of saying to my downline, you're welcome to invite to this, instead I said, I'm doing like last week. It was like, we're doing a webinar next week, me and Morgan, who are you partnering up with? Anyone like that runs their own webinar or a coach info session next week will be entered to win a prize. Cause like my goal this year again is to build leaders, not dependent downlines. Yeah. And so I even gave them a Google Doc that I have of my outline when I was doing Facebook sneak peeks, which again is the same stuff that Holly Hillier video. It was all the same thing Janine talked about, but I gave them that. And I was like, if you guys all run your own, we'll do a drawing and somebody will win something. And then we're going to do a team-wide like new coach mentorship in February. So at least they know, they just have to do the webinar, the inviting piece and the getting people in there so that they see them as the one they're coming to join, but yet we'll all work together on the new coach training so that they don't have to feel overwhelmed by like running it all. So
yeah. Thank you.
I actually have a quick question for you, Christina. Do you find it an issue at all? Or I guess, what do you do for the interim between when you say you invite someone on a Monday and they're so excited, and then your event is like Friday morning for a coffee talk or something? What do you do in the meantime to like keep them excited and to make sure that they show up?
I usually in the past have like offered to say, when I would do when I do Facebook sneak peeks, I just keep the videos and the guides like until the next one. So I'll say like our webinar is coming up Wednesday night. If you don't want to wait that long, you can listen to this. And that way I like plug them into whatever resource I have. So if you have a recording from your last webinar, be like, if they're pumped, be like, listen, we got a webinar coming up Wednesday, but if you want to just hear the last one, and I'll shoot it to you today. Because again, I know no one signs up on like the first time. So they might listen to that other webinar, which will cue some thoughts, and then come listen to the new one with like different eyes or ears. So I always have something already from the last one that I can give them in the interim.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Christina, you had mentioned, and I know I've just watching the chat, the 5 to 8 star chat thread specifically, there was a lot of questions around, okay, well, what do we talk about? right? And I know you and Morgan kind of sat down and you were discussing what you're going to share. I think that's where a lot of our coaches also get stuck, is they don't know what to share about as it relates to, inviting the coaching opportunity. How are you kind of guiding your team as it relates to specific around content?
I always personally show you've got to lead with your story, because your story will hook somebody in more than any fact or figure, or even like trip or vacation. Like if you're showing a trip or a vacation retreat, like why does that mean something to you, right? Like my story around that might be that I'm a homebody who actually was never motivated by trips, but maybe this is how it's changed me, or the community has. Like I just always tell them lead with the story, because I know for me too, we all do. That's why the wake up call starts with the coach's story, right? Because you lean in, and when you get someone to lean in, then I personally know that that's the way I get drawn into people. Then they could tell me anything and I'm like in on that person. So I always tell my coaches to like, lead with their story, or anytime I do sneak peeks, it's always story first, so that they can relate to some aspect of you. And then I talk about who I'm looking for, what we actually do as coaches, how we earn income. And even that's very basic, like commission, layers of income if you decide to build a team, and then bonus structure as because again, I feel like they need to be in on it before they need to know how to make money. If they're not in on it, like that's not going to matter, because obviously there's money involved,
Yeah, I would say we keep it very general overview. We're not giving specific detail. We're selling them on our stories and our future vision, and that's about it. Because what I have found is when you get too specific, then people give themselves reasons in their head as to why it's not going to work, versus just giving so brief of an overview that they are intrigued to want more and they say yes so that they can get the more. So our webinar is just kind of what actually Janine just wrote in the chat. It's just basics of who we are, who we're looking for, and what we do. And that's about it. That's all we do.
I just want to add one more thing too, because I listened to the panel from that Morgan shared in the chat thread. I loved, and I'm using this in a post, I used it in my stories the other day. One thing that Erin Hopkins said, and she's like, I encourage you to see the similarities, not the differences. And so I think when we give too much specifics, we don't allow the person to see themselves in it. Where my goal is like to open somebody's eyes to like already in their head how it could fit into their life, not that they need to know the exact details of like the business activity tracker or the income model, right? So I love that and I shared that in my stories yesterday as I shared my story. Like it might not be exactly yours. And I think that's why when Morgan and I pair up, it works so well, because our stories are completely different. So it's like, they just need to see some aspect of a similarity that they could like attach to. And that happens by feeling, right? That happens by hearing someone's story and like feeling a part of what they felt, not necessarily, that we earn 25% commission on the challenge pack.
So good. So good. So leading with your story, future vision. I'm just curious, do any of you create a posting calendar in terms of what you are sharing and share that with your team? Who does not? So for example, like, Monday through Friday, what you're talking about in your stories, on your posts. Yes. Who does not? And get real. Who does not plan that? 1, 2, 3, 4. So like 5, a handful of you do not. So would you say for those of you that are posting and have a regular cadence of what you're posting in your stories, how has that benefited you? Yes. So yes. How has that benefited you?
I feel like having a cadence has just helped me make sure that I'm covering all the things I want to cover. So my specific cadence for my stories, I actually have it right here just because I look at it every day, is Mondays, life vision, Tuesdays, belief, what I'm believing for myself, Wednesdays, money mindset, talking about making money, Thursdays is sharing my team vision, Fridays is sharing who my ideal customer is and who I'm looking for, and Wednesdays is the woman I'm becoming. And so that's like what I try to make sure I'm rotating through every single week, because I want to show up as a business mentor who's talking about vision and what I'm doing with my life. So I just feel like it's helped me make sure to cover all the pieces versus just having random things going out here, there, and everywhere and confusing my audience, right? Like I don't want people to be confused about what I'm talking about. So I think having the cadence allows me to be organized and not confuse the other people. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I think sometimes we can self-sabotage ourselves, especially when I see coaches do the like, here's the ways you can join me. And then they list out like 5 different things. And it's like, oh my gosh, you're self-sabotaging yourself because you're giving too much and you're confusing people versus having specific days that you talk about things and just allowing, the marketing to be a little bit more seamless and not so confusing.
Well, and that's,
you guys said, can you share that again?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Can you share that?
Yes. So life vision, that's what do you want your life to look like? Next is belief. So what are the things you're believing for yourself for this year? The next one is money mindset. So talking about money in a good way because of, abundance mindset. Next is my team vision. I feel like this is how I recruit coaches to my team. This one, team vision, because people want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And so making sure I'm sharing my team vision and where I see my team going. Next is my ideal customer. So who I'm serving and who I'm looking to join on my team. And then I share about the woman that I'm becoming because of Beachbody.
Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming, Morgan, you share this with your team and are they duplicating this as well and doing the same thing that you're doing? Is that kind of obviously the overall objective?
Yes. What I have found is when I give my coaches a plan, they're like, oh, perfect. Takes all the guesswork out of it. So I like to give this kind of stuff to my coaches just to kind of make it a little bit easier for themselves. That way they have a plan. And you guys, I actually shared this with y'all already. It's in my Slay Squad level up that my 5-week business transformation that I put together and posted in the 5 to 8. If you open up that document, you'll see at the bottom, I share my posting schedule. So what I just shared is like what I post on my feed. And then I also have my cadence for how I rotate through things on my stories, which Christina actually covered that already.
Perfect. So I would encourage all of you that are already doing it, keep doing it, right? How can you keep and hold your coaches accountable to doing it the same thing? And for those of you that kind of raise your hand and says, you know what, I'm not really planning on this, on the front end, it's going to save you. On the front end, it's not going to save you time, but on the back end, it will save you a tremendous amount of time planning that. So Morgan, thank you. Oh my gosh. Okay. It's 10:57. Okay. I know I mentioned something about recognition. I'll just send it in the thread. So we don't need to talk about that here. Anything else? I mean, you guys, this is so good. This is so good. Ashley, you brought up a little earlier about you're not struggling with inviting to the coaching opportunity. Where you struggle is your systems, right? What specifically around that are you struggling with?
I think finding, there's a couple of things. First, specifically is keeping pace with each of the people individually. So like if someone signs up at the beginning of the month, and then someone signs up at the end of the month, and then someone signs up in the middle somewhere. So trying to like, if I have a set system, basically last year we tried multiple things. I changed what we did 3 times and it drove me insane. We had like a new coach boot camp that we put together and we ran it once a month. But I found that if somebody signed up the week after we started, I'd be like, so we have a new coach boot camp and you can either catch up really quickly or wait 3 weeks. And so I was like, this is not going to work for me. So I pulled the 10-step checklist that somebody shared that originally came from like Danielle Natoni. And we redid all the videos and I created this beautiful PDF and I started emailing it with a new coach email. So everybody, I'm like, these people can be self-starters. Screw having to do this monthly thing. So every time someone signed up, I was like, hey, welcome to the team. Here's 10 steps for you. Let me know when you're done and we'll hop on our first call. And I found that people were not finishing the 10-step checklist, or they ended up with more questions. Some of them took a week, some of them took 3 days. And I was like, this is not consistently working. So I still don't have a set system. Sam, Samantha, I love how you're doing that. But my brain is like, I need simpler than that. I need like a 1, 2, 3 setup for my team. So our huge team now, big mothership team, has a new coach university that we're walking people through. That is 4 weeks. It's all in text, email, and 4 Zoom calls. But I'm running into the same problem. My girls that signed up this week, I'm like, oh, so can you read 3 chapters of The Compound Effect and watch a recording and hop on Wednesday on an 8:00 call? And I'm like, wait a minute, I just told them this coaching thing is supposed to be easy and can fit into their life. So I personally don't have the right like method. I haven't found the right flow for getting people. I'm just literally working with them individually where they are. And it leaves me, like very disorganized. So I would love to hear how people like combat that problem, or if somebody has a very simple system that works and works and works and works, that's what I would love.
Okay. Ashley, thank you. Listen, I want to be respectful of your time. It's 11 o'clock. Can you guys stay on for just a few more minutes? Yes. Okay. If you can't listen, I get it. I understand. I'll send the recording out. If so, who's got something that's actually working for them as it relates to, a simple system to where you're not having to do individual one-on-ones with those new coaches? Everyone's like nodding their head.
Apparently we need to brainstorm this solution that works. I don't mind working one-on-one with coaches. I think you absolutely have to. And I definitely do some of everything. When I have a couple of new coaches that sign up, I immediately put them in a pod and I'm like, all right, we're all reading The Compound Effect. All right. We're all going to, start working on our first person. We're all going to identify our, how we want to build and what our goals are. And so it's important to meet people where they're at. I also think it's really important to build an individual relationship with people. So I'm talking a lot to my new coaches, not just about the business. I'm like 13-year-old for sale, or in the middle of doing my dishes, or dear God, who ever knew that a family could make this much laundry? I'm chatting with them as a friend too, because I want to build a solid friendship foundation with them. But at the same point in time, having a consistent method, every time a coach gets dropped in, having it be ABC, it would just be so helpful.
Does anyone have a simple system that you're willing to share?
Yeah, so I would say that I actually really don't do one-on-ones with my coaches.
Okay.
I don't want to get hate for that, but the way I do it is I do a weekly 30 minutes before my team call, new coach call, where I'm bringing all my new coaches together at one time, just because we all know, as busy moms, we don't have, creating my dream life doesn't mean me sitting on one-on-one calls all day. That's just not what I see for myself. And so I group my new coaches together, and every 30 minutes before our team call, that's my new coach getting started right call. And I have 4 different topics that I just go through every single month, the same thing. So my first new coach call on a Thursday is just about vision and belief. My second one is how to show up on social media. My third one is how to market your boot camps. And my fourth one is just around general basic things of advancing and stuff like that. And so I don't do one-on-ones. I mean, if someone was to reach out to me and be like, hey, I really want a one-on-one, obviously I'm going to offer my time, but I don't offer one-on-ones to my new coaches. I say, this is our group time, show up. Or not. And I actually have been kind of using still Kelsey Smith's. You guys remember when she kind of shared her onboarding process where it's just a checklist, a month one checklist, check 2, check month 2. Christina and I kind of took that and reformulated it into a first 6 months of your business plan. And so we're giving basically a plan of action, and we're handing it to people. And we're hoping that this is just going to create more leaders and self-starters, because that's the kind of person I am. And I'm hoping to recreate myself, which has not been super successful, but we're working on it.
Yeah. Okay. So Morgan, can you confirm? So vision, belief, right? Social media.
Yes. So vision and belief is my first getting started right call. The second one is social media. The third one is how to market your boot camps, because I find new coaches just do not understand that.
Okay.
So we have a whole call set aside.
Okay.
Yeah. And then where was I? Was I on social media, vision, belief, social media, boot camps. And then the last one is just general things I need to know, rank advancing and how to move forward, and really just general Q&A. And I repeat the same calls 30 minutes before my team call every single month, because every single month we're obviously bringing on new coaches.
Yep. Okay.
Morgan, so if you have a coach that comes in when you're on like week 3 marketing your boot camp, do you just plug them in there and then they go through the round of the calls? Okay.
Yes. Yep.
You just basically,
and I tell them like, yeah. And I say like, if you feel like you get to like, if a new coach gets through all 4 and they're like, I'm still a new coach, I say, keep hopping on 30 minutes before a team call. Cause that's just like a new coach space for new coaches to come together, ask those general questions and kind of learn together. So I like say like, you know, keep hopping on the new coach call, like as frequent as you feel like you want to until you feel like you're no longer a new coach.
That's great. Ashley, is that helpful?
Yeah, I do something similar, except I don't keep the same topics. The first 2 Thursdays of the month are dedicated to new coach calls. And I just pick some type of a topic, like 3 things you need to know about the back office, or 3 invite styles that will help you. I'm sticking to like 3s and 5s for everything, trying to keep it simple. And then the other 2 Thursdays are dedicated to coach sneak peeks.
Well, I mean, Ashley, maybe it might make sense to have it to where maybe that you group that maybe in the general, you know, section that week 4. I don't know, just something to think about. That way it's consistent and your team can follow, and that's duplicatable as well. I don't know, just some thought starters. Okay. All right. Listen, I know we're way over time. We're 5 minutes over time. I hope this was helpful. Next week we've got Carrie Schneider on the call. She's going to share some best practices on the call, and then we'll open it up for a hot seat. So she'll be on the call. The topic is all centered around getting your coaches and creating a success club culture within your downline. So that's going to be the topic. You won't want to miss it. You guys know Carrie. Most of you know Carrie. Like, she is a no nonsense, you know, tell it like it is. I love it. Adore her. And hopefully I will see all of you on the call next week. Thank you so much for being on the call today, for all of your contribution. Have an amazing week, everyone.